it's just really college golf is really tight right now.
You know what? I would probably pay a good amount of money is just to have Doug Martin and Jordan Bischel hang out in this chat and talk for a while.
Jordan and I have had some great conversations. I think we might be cut from a similar cloth.
I agree. That's why I'm saying I would like just everybody else out of the room, and we'll let Doug and Jordan talk sports for 30 minutes. And I think that's worth more than anything us idiots have to say.
Well, I heard you talking about the value of one shot in golf, Doug, and all I'm thinking about is some mathematical equation that's going to decide our fate in a week or so. So I don't know which one's better or worse.
Well, I'll tell you what. I can say I've watched a lot of your games this year, and I love what your team is doing. I love the aggressiveness that you guys play with, the energy that your kids play with. Sweeping BYU out there with those beautiful views. What is that? 4 series in a row we've won. Is that correct? 4 in a row.
It is correct.
Now you need to beat my alma mater this weekend to make it 5 in a row.
That'll be really easy because they're only like 10th in the country right now.
I completely understand. But it's great what you're doing, and I love the energy that your kids are bringing every day.
If your golfers acted that way, it'd be straight out of Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, that's probably true. It's probably true. But
no, Doug's been a huge support system for me since I got here. I can talk to him anytime about anything. He's been huge.
We'll set this up for one point in the summer where I'll mediate, but I just want you two to talk for however long you two want to talk.
We would love to.
Doug has been a friend of mine for a long, long time now. We would sit and watch Mick Cronin basketball practices and got to know each other well, and getting to know you a little bit, Jordan. Again, I agree, Doug. You two are cut from the same cloth. I think it would be a can't miss television to get you two in this room and have you sit here and talk sports for a little while. But Doug, what's the wake-up call time?
We're 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Chad. All the best to you guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Appreciate it, Doug. Good luck tomorrow,
you.
and we will see you soon.
All right. See ya. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Doug.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
In case you can't tell, Jordan, we love him.
He's awesome. Doug's the best. So we've got the same wake-up call tomorrow, I think, with this 11 o'clock start.
Yeah, you got an early one. We talked to Loudon earlier, and it kind of told him like it might be time to get ready for bed at 5 o'clock.
I'd play them all at 11 if they'd let us. I'd love that.
Loudon said he was a coffee guy. Is that true? He said he's a coffee guy. He says
we got a lot of young guys that drink coffee. They think their lives are so hard right now. They gotta, get out of bed by 8 or 9 o'clock a couple of days a week. It's really difficult.
Yeah. Took down some black coffee. Good for them.
We promised.
I didn't see Loudon. How'd he do? Was Loudon all right for you?
It was outstanding.
It was great.
Of course, he hit his first 2 home runs of the season, so he's in a good mood.
Yeah, he's an awesome. He's a grinder, man. He's competitive and just doesn't say a whole lot, but just plays his butt off. It's pretty remarkable. A kid that's played no college shortstop gets shifted over there, and we only practiced him there a couple of weeks, and he just popped over there and's made basically every play.
Well, we promised last week if you took care of business out in Provo, we would have you back on. And guess what? You took care of business out in Provo, and here you are. Things almost got off to a rocky start on Thursday. You had to be proud of how your team kept working, kept pushing, and then they score the final 7 runs, and they're able to pull away and gain that momentum for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that, again, a few weeks ago, I think it was, 4 weekends ago against Houston, we were down 4 and came back a couple of times and won. And that was really the first time we had come from behind to win. And it really, I think, opened our guys' eyes up to the importance of just staying the course in these games. And now that we've done that, it's been fun to see us stack some of those. But that was a really good one on Thursday because their closer had literally like a 148 opponent's batting average, and we picked up 5 base hits in an inning off of him. So it wasn't like they gave the game away. They had their best arm out there who's been ultra successful, and we hit them, which with big credit to our guys, obviously.
I asked Loudon this question earlier today. I'm curious if you give the same answer, but you guys have been on quite a streak, and I wondered if you felt there was a turning point at some point this season where you guys kind of flipped the switch and kind of started grinding just the way that you've been.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what he said, because to me there were a few of those steps and rungs in the ladder. I think the most recent one was we had a loss to Xavier about a month ago, and I really challenged our guys after we lost the game legitimately on a foul home run. A ball got called foul, instant replay, had some weird angle. Long story short, the ball was clearly foul, but the video didn't show it. And in hindsight, it changed the game. But after the game, I really challenged our guys. But it wasn't about the umpire. It was about us trusting who we were, playing better baseball, all kinds of. And that was right before that Houston series. So I think that was the most recent really inflection point. But I thought there were 4 or 5 of those throughout the year. So I'm curious what he gave you.
He said it was the Western Illinois game.
That was another one. It's funny because we talked about that today. We lost to Western Illinois, who they've got, 10, 12 wins, whatever it is, and nothing against their program, but that's a game we should win. And we made so many just bad mistakes, quite frankly. And I sat in the clubhouse after with our guys, and I said, well, if we want to ever think about making the NCAA tournament, that ship has sailed. Our RPI is going to be so low. There's no path this year. So I joked today that the guys that proved me wrong, they put themselves in a position where we could still make that happen.
The way you guys have been hitting the ball this last month or so, are you trying to get a dome built over the stadium real quick to combat this potential weather, so you guys can get these games in this week? I mean, they're huge games.
Up, right? Yeah, guys are starting to swing it well. That's been good to see.
Coach, you mentioned last week some reserves stepping up big time, and then you saw Max go out there again with a big shot on Thursday, and then of course we already mentioned Loudon having taking part in batting practice during the game on Saturday. What's it been like just getting numerous contributions just all over the roster, especially when it matters the most?
Yeah, I mean, that to me, you look back a week, the West Virginia series, the third game, Josh Cross, who's obviously right now the big name in the lineup, is 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts, and we go out and score whatever we needed to and scored a bunch to win. And some of the same things again this weekend. And then on the pitching side, this is really an unsung hero in the weekend, but we burned some pretty key arms on Thursday. Friday, we had a 5-inning start. We're in the middle innings, and we're trying to nail down a pitcher's duel 4-2. And Michael Conti, who was a transfer that came from Central Michigan, but really has not pitched in any key roles for us. We needed somebody to bridge it, to get it to Christian for the 8th and 9th. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have a guy that we've really leaned on. And Michael came in and got a 1-2-3 7th inning. And to outsiders, it was probably a pretty meaningless inning. But when you're a guy who's 50 games into the year and hasn't been thrown into a key spot in a conference game, and we're asking you to get 3 outs, I mean, that was, again, that's one of those rewarding ones internally that we've seen it in practice. We've seen the preparation. We felt like he's getting closer, and we threw him in there trusting him. And other people are like, wow, why are they using this guy? And so those little things of showing that roster depth and what these guys have done in practice to build a high quality, deep team as the season is worn on. Those are fun. Those are rewarding as a coach.
UConn is really good.
Yeah.
What are the challenges you're going to face tomorrow at 11 a.m.?
Yeah, well, the first one might be rain and thunder. We might be dealing with that a little bit, so we're hoping to dodge that one. But, Coach Penders at UConn has been there a long time, and they are good every single year. And so it's a program that expects to win. They're right in the mix for a regional spot. I would imagine they would get a bid if the season ended today. I think they're 40th in the RPI. But offensively, they play a pretty similar style to us. They're going to run a fair amount. They're not afraid to bunt. They're not afraid to pressure you. It was interesting because we actually played them 2 years ago in a regional, or 3 years ago now in a regional at CMU. So we got to see them firsthand. And it's a really well-coached team. Now, that day we bunted for 6 hits, so it was a pretty exciting day for us to play that style of baseball. But they do a lot of the same things we do. And so when you have a talented team that does a lot of the same things you do, you're going to be challenged. But I'm excited for our guys this week. We're playing really, really good nationally relevant teams on our home field, and who knows where it'll leave us. But to be playing those games when they really matter, it's pretty cool.
How'd you do in the elevation? You were talking about that.
My lips are all chapped. I couldn't hardly breathe. But Loudon liked the elevation. The ball went an extra 10 feet, and all of a sudden we were getting it over the fence. So you didn't feel it too much the first 2 days. It was kind of dreary and a little bit rainy, and so the ball didn't carry much. The last day is when you really noticed it. Like the wind wasn't blowing out, and it's a big park, and they're all well hit balls, but balls that you felt like maybe were doubles in the gap were just getting that extra hop at the end.
Loudon said he really appreciated the scenery that BYU provided, especially the mountains and the outfield. Being from the Midwest, and like he said, he had never seen anything like that. What was that experience like for you, just being able to be in that environment? And then also,
I hadn't been out there either. Yeah, no, I didn't. It was pretty cool. Our guys were able to go on a little hike and see a waterfall. I was the loser who was watching video on in my hotel room to figure out how to give us a little edge, but I probably would have just injured myself or something anyway. But it was nice. Our guys could, yes, it's about baseball and it's about winning, but that's one of the cool things about where we're at in the league now. There's some challenges with the travel, but these guys are also getting to see parts of the country and things that they may never see otherwise. And that's pretty neat. I mean, it is, again, we want to win baseball games, and I get the importance, but to have some life experiences is pretty neat too.
And then, just no biggie, Oklahoma over the weekend. What challenges do they present? Are you familiar with them at all?
Yeah, I haven't done much prep work for them yet. Another one where so this one was 2 years ago. They were in the same regional as us. That was the year they were national runner-up. So I saw them play a little bit in person. We never played them in the regional. We played Florida and Liberty, but I saw them play, and I obviously prepped for them. And that year, and I think this is turning into the same type of team. Their pitching was competitive, but not great. But their offense was just dynamic in what they could do. It was like there was really no way to beat them, whether it was on the bases, they could bunt, they could hit. The two-strike hitting was amazing. Matchup-wise, they had lefty, right? It just, to me, I remember, because Florida was the host and a top seed, whatever, and everybody's talking about Florida. And I remember watching video thinking, my God, the best team here is going to be Oklahoma. And as fate would have it, they made the national title game. And I think their offense is doing a lot of the same things now. I mean, I think they're scoring almost 10 runs a game in conference play, which is just, I mean, it's kind of hard to fathom with the arms that we see. So I haven't gotten into the details of it, except I know they're really, really good. I don't think it even matters what they do this weekend. They're almost certain to be a regional host. But again, what's the downside of playing these games? It's a great opportunity for us. It should be fun, but it's a challenging week for sure.
Well, if they're going to already host a regional, then they should probably just help the Bearcats out, right?
Yeah, I think they actually checked if their club team could fly in instead, and we just play them.
Help the Big 12 get more teams in the field.
They probably have some guys on their club team throwing 92 out there too, but yeah, I mean, I don't know how they'll handle the weekend. At some point, they'll probably give their arms a little break, whatever, whether that's this week, next week. Ultimately, it really doesn't matter, right? We've got to go play good baseball, so.
Do you feel like this team exemplifies what you envisioned this year to look like, or do you feel like there's still some tweaks that need to be made to get things to where you want Bischel ball to be here at Cincinnati?
Yeah, am I getting a hashtag out there all of a sudden on this? I don't even know.
I don't like it.
John Cunningham used that phrase earlier, and I'm holding on to that one.
I had no idea. If I learn how to use Twitter, I might find out what's out there, but you can check
Coach, it's called X now. It's called X now. Just
called X. Okay. Well, I'm still on Twitter, so there's the issue. I don't even know.
We don't use that letter around here. It's still called Twitter here.
Okay, fair.
I do have a Facebook profile, I think. It tells me when people's birthdays are, so that's helpful.
MySpace, maybe. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the world's greatest recruiter right here. I don't know how to use social media. That's really what you're looking for in a coach these days. Kids don't use it either anyway, I figure, so it works out. Back to your question. It looks pretty close to the way we want it to look. That's what I'm really proud of. The way we've played, since the start of April, I think is really probably a top 30 or 40 level in the country. And the style of it, the way we've pressured in multiple ways. You've seen us steal a bunch of bases, bunt for hits. The last game against West Virginia, that first inning was so explosive that way. But then we go out on Saturday and we hit 4 home runs and kind of bludgeon the baseball a little bit. We want to be diverse in how we attack. We want to be aggressive. We want to be energetic. We've seen all of that. Our pitching is probably where we haven't gotten it where we want it yet. We walk a few too many guys. We hit a few too many guys. But we've seen a lot of improvement there. I think we're 3 weekends in a row where we haven't given up more than 5 runs in a game. That'll be challenged this weekend, but that's really hard to do in this league. So that consistency has developed. On Saturday, Nate Taylor, he got hit around a little bit early. They made some hard contact, but he didn't have a walk in a third inning. And for a freshman to go out there and not pitch scared, to give up a bunch of hard contact early and keep attacking and not start dribbling. I mean, that's kind of the identity we're trying to build. So you're seeing those things. And that's exciting because really early in the season, that's all we talked about is when we get to the end of this year, we want to have an identity. We want people in the Big 12 to be able to kind of say, this is what Cincinnati's, if we play good enough baseball, our style, people say, God, we know what we're getting ourselves into. This is the type of team they are, and we'll have accomplished something. I can't give our guys enough credit that it didn't take us 2 or 3 years to build that, but it took us, 35, 40 games to start playing that type of baseball.
That's how you drew it up in the offseason, right? A freshman starter leads the conference and wins.
Yeah, anybody that wants to hop on Cincy Reigns, because the SEC is going to come calling for them. So, I mean, and the great thing about what we're doing is I think our guys are truly happy here. I don't think they're going to be out there just chasing a bunch of money, but at the same time, it's real. I mean, it's real. You take a kid who loves it here, but has a bunch of dollars dangling in front of them to play at a place that also having success. That it's a little scary, but what we need to do internally is make sure the culture's set up, that our guys are happy, and make sure the player development's set up so that they feel like we're helping them be the best player they can be and get that pro exposure. And then you hope maybe a few dollars show up for these guys.
That's www.com or gobearcats.com/Reigns. We've still got about 2 hours and 45 minutes in 513 day to go make your donation and help the Bearcats, not only this week, but beyond, right, Coach?
Well, and like we talked about with the NIL and the baseball end of it a week or so ago, our guys, they don't have full rides. They've got very partial scholarships. They're paying money out of pocket. And so if people want to support it, they aren't buying our guys cars and trucks. They're not buying them a new set of golf clubs. They're helping pay a tuition bill. They're maybe helping them purchase a few meals throughout I mean, it's really impactful to our guys, which I'm not saying it's not impactful to other sports, but we definitely have the lowest 11.7 scholarships for 40 student athletes. You can do the math on what that leaves. And I think that math is the better part of $1 million a year our guys pay out of pocket. It's impactful to our guys for sure.
Doug was actually talking about buying his guys golf clubs.
Yes, that would make some sense. Hard to argue. We don't need those guys getting baseball bats.
We don't need those guys getting baseball bats.
Coach, on in Thursday's game, you saw Christian Mitchell all over the place doing affecting the game numerous ways, and then and he's a guy that you've known for quite a while, obviously, and then you have Carson Marsh come in, who yet again is a true freshman making his mark in the game as well. Is this kind of the perfect blend at this point of the season where you're seeing just all this core that you had, some guys that you've known, and then everyone else kind of just upping their game as they develop throughout the year?
Yeah, I think that's really fun about it is I don't know that we have more than, I mean, almost every one of our guys right now is playing at nearly the highest level we've seen from them. They've improved, they've developed, and you can give credit to coaches if you want, but listen, it's work. It takes time with the amount of time we travel, and then they have to study and get in the weight room and do all these different things. If you're really improving in the months of April and May, you're doing some things when nobody's looking that are pretty important and pretty valuable. And that's, fun to see. A guy like Carson Marsh, again, it's just getting better. Christian had his struggles at times early in the season, and now has really turned a corner. You saw with Landon Vitterick over the weekend. We really think Landon's going to be a really great player for us. And he had a pretty long stretch of struggling, and he just kept working, grinding, and all of a sudden this weekend he's hitting home runs, he's hitting doubles, he's robbing home runs, he's on Sports Center. And again, that's not just show up to the ballpark in game 51 and all of a sudden the light goes on. Like, it's a lot of good work stacked together, and then it clicks. And that, yeah, it's fun to see when in May guys are playing their best baseball, because it's easy this time of year to be 50 games in and just kind of show up, go through the motions, and hope it's good enough. And our guys have committed to a little bit more than that.
Coach, what do you think you need to be done or needs to be done over these next 4 games? And I know you don't have an exact answer, but just an estimation. And I guess this is from the perspective of somebody that's watched college basketball and been a diehard college basketball for a long time. Does the conference tournament have much impact on the baseball selection? Because I don't think it does in basketball, at least anymore.
Yeah, and it's funny because, and this is not a slight to whatever the committee decides, but ultimately the committee will form a narrative to justify whoever they pick to go in, right? Like, if a certain team they think is good enough had a good conference tournament run, they'll say, well, they were hot at the right time, and so, I mean, I think the answer is we talked to Cincy Reigns, we talked about the Cincy Light end of it, and we get a lot of that Cincy Light, we box it up, we send it to the committee. We make sure it says Cincy all over it. We make sure they have a bunch of drinks. We talk a lot about how great Cincinnati is. And before they know it, if the RPI says, 52, they might read it wrong and they think it's 25 and all of a sudden we're a 2 seed. Yeah. And so it's a really simple equation. Just get those guys drunk. And Michael Alford's on the committee. He first hired me at Central Michigan. Okay. I can get you his number. Probably shouldn't put this one, but no, I mean, it's a hard job, and I've kind of come to respect that. Like, ultimately there's going to be somebody that's got something to bitch about, right? And our win more and it'll look better, win less it won't. I think ultimately if we did go out and win 2 games against Oklahoma, and the Connecticut game really matters too, that's a regional type team, but if we did go out and win 2 games against Oklahoma, I think that gives us 18 league wins, a series win against Oklahoma. I mean, I don't know how you could keep a team like that out of the tournament based on how we're playing right now, but I don't know. They could. I mean, it's not an automatic bid unless you win the thing. And on the flip side, for all I know, we go out and lose a few this week, but play great in the tournament. I don't know. What's unique about our case is our conference record 100% qualifies us to get an at-large bid, but our RPI is on the lower end of what usually gets in. And the reason for that is we didn't play great baseball in February and March. And the reason for that is I think because we had a new conference, a new staff, a lot of new players. And so I think the way we're playing right now is hands down one of the better teams in the country and almost a shoe-in at large, but there is a body of work piece. And if we had played great in February and struggled down the stretch, and I'd expect the committee to value the February games too. So again, it's a hard job. We're playing at that level now. I don't know what we need to win this week, but if we don't lose another game, we're national champions. So that's probably what we need to do.
Yeah, just don't lose.
Yeah.
So what's the message going into these next? It's 4 games, correct? 4 games left. UConn,
yeah, 1
and then
against
3 games.
UConn. Yep. Yeah.
So what does the message change at all, or is it just go play the baseball you've been playing, go play the way we want to play?
Yeah, well, we got to find Chad's dog, it appears. So let's go do that. Pretty important.
Oh, you have access to the private chat. I love that.
The message in my meetings are short because our guys don't listen to me anyway. So we try to keep things to like 4 minutes or less because at that point they're tuned out. It's worse than my kids. But the message today was really, we want to treat everything the same. What we've been doing is working, so let's not change it. We're not going to talk about how many games we need to win. We're going to talk about what do we need to do to play a good game and beat UConn. The other part of that message, though, was that's easy for me to say, but it's easier said than done. It's only natural that our guys are seeing a couple wins may get us to the NCAA tournament, that our guys are seeing that there's more value to these, in theory, there's those outside influences. And if you care, that probably ramps up a little bit your excitement, a little bit your nerves, a little bit your stress, whatever that is. And I think the message I had to them was that's okay. If you feel a little excited, you feel a little nervous, that's only natural. That's what late season baseball is about. That's what postseason baseball is about. And then the key is how quickly can you dial back to just trust your preparation and play. And my point to them was, why get so caught up in if somebody picks us for an at-large bid, or like, what lies in front of you is playing good baseball against really good teams. And if you're so caught up in having to win it that you forget to enjoy it, you're really wasting your time. Like, we're not going out there tomorrow to try to make the NCAA tournament. We're going out there tomorrow to enjoy the competition and see where it leaves us. And then somebody else can decide on that. So I think that's a lot easier said than done, but that's really the message, is just kind of recognizing this is going to feel a little bit different this week, but let's try to get it back to being the same, because that's what makes it enjoyable.
Yeah, that's kind of what Loudon said was the fact that right now the team just feels connected because they're all having fun playing with each other and succeeding with each other. And I think that's kind of an invaluable thing where you then can take a step back, like you said, and just kind of not really say, listen, we got to win these games. It's instead go out, perform together, because you all are enjoying playing together at the same time.
Yeah, and I told her, I participated in a few of these regionals now, and yeah, it's a cool experience. I get all that, but ultimately, you don't show up, and all of a sudden, there's this magic pixie dust that makes it this ultra cool special experience. It's college baseball games, just like we're playing right now, and so let's, just because it's on TV, it doesn't make playing feel any different, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and what gets lost in all of this is ultimately, no matter how the rest of the season goes, sometime between 10 days from now and probably 3 or 4 weeks from now, our season's going to be a wrap, right? And so there's a pretty limited number of games and a pretty limited amount of season left. If we get so caught up in the results that we forget to enjoy this limited last bit of season, we've really shortchanged ourselves.
Does it feel like you're ahead of schedule based off just what your tenure at Cincinnati looks like? Like, does it feel like, holy crap, it's year one and we have a chance?
I probably shouldn't say this, but yeah, it does feel like we're ahead of schedule. I think I'm supposed to say I figured we'd just go beat everybody the second half of the season. But yeah, it does. I mean, we were struggling a little bit 15, 20 games in, and we were doing some good things, but we were also having some pretty bumpy roads. And for that, and again, it could change this week. We could struggle. I totally get all of that. But for us to string together several weeks of pretty much quality baseball game after game, that's really hard to do. And I could be here 10 years and we may not have a bunch of stretches where you win for us. It is a hard league to win in. So it definitely is a little bit ahead of maybe results where I expected it. But again, that's a credit to the guys. And it also doesn't shock me. There were times in the fall I said to our coaches, I said, this team, if everything goes the way we think it could go, we could play in an NCAA tournament. We knew we had a good offense. We knew we had some productive guys. We knew the pitching would be a question. That part has been, to me, the most exciting part. Is we thought going into the year that Griffin Hugas, Chase Horst were guys that were really going to have to play huge parts. And we made it through a huge chunk of the conference season without those guys. Then Ryan Insko was a really key reliever for us leading into conference play, and he's been hurt. So when you started to add one back, and if you'd have told me coming in, man, you're going to struggle with injuries on the mound, I'd have been pretty worried about the results. And that's been fun to see. So that part, I think, is a little bit ahead. The offense has played about the way I expected, but just the buy-in and chemistry, that the seniors that aren't playing a lot, just on board every day, 30 guys showing up that want to be there every day. That's the part that has accelerated and gone well. And that means we have special people, not so much players. They're good players, but special people. And that's pretty cool for me. That's a part you don't know going in. Like, what type of people do you have? They're really good kids.
No, it's one thing to have the mantra that you play each game one at a time, but to see that actually come to fruition and not get ahead of yourself before you get to the tournament. I was shocked to hear you as the first person to say the word NCAA tournament on this podcast today. But to see that work out, how's that feel?
Yeah, I mean, and that, we've done this all year. When we beat TCU the first 2 games, and everybody external is going to say, can you sweep them? What we talked about, we said, we're not trying to sweep TCU. We have 1 game against TCU on Sunday. We're going to try to win 1 game on Sunday. And I think that really helps you when you have success and failure, that you don't feel like you have to win X number of games to be successful. You just try to win the next one. And I think now, to me, the reason I haven't been afraid to bring it up this week is I know what's going into these guys' heads. They are much better better with the internet and with social media than I am. And so they're seeing Cincinnati on the bubble. Cincinnati needs to do this to get. So if they're talking about it anyway, why don't I get in front of it and talk? I mean, and yeah, it's cool. Yeah. It's exciting. Like, we should want to play in the NCAA tournament. That's good stuff to think about and talk about. But then let's move on and go back to what we need to do to make that a reality, which is show up tomorrow at 11 a.m. ready to compete and ready to work hard and ready to have fun and see where it leaves us.
You guys have any last questions before I get one last one in and get him out of here for that early wake up?
Ask Coach real quick. You guys play a fun brand. Clearly the guys are having a lot of fun. You even mentioned it that you've been referred to as a softball team at times. Have you had to at any point tell them to kind of dial it back, or have you just like let them go and because we're winning, everybody's having a good time and we'll deal with that if something comes to
it? They're pretty good at not pushing past the limits. There was a home game a few weeks ago. It was Luke Sefcik's birthday, and they broke out "Happy Birthday" like 4 times during the game, loud enough the whole stadium could hear it. So that one, there had to be some head scratching going on. But I mean, my God, with all the 18 to 22-year-olds in the world that are probably doing some bonehead things and trying to be tough guys and feel like they're entitled and all. If our guys want to go, I mean, there's a lot bigger problems to have, right? If my 6-year-olds in 12 years, the worst thing they do is sing "Happy Birthday" in a dugout with their friends, I'll probably be feeling pretty good about myself.
I agree.
Before we let you go, any camp dates you wanted to bring up or anything?
Oh my God, there's lots of camp dates, and to be honest, I have no idea what they are.
Is there a website where you can go check out?
There is, and I should probably know what it is.
He just said he doesn't.
I don't even know. I mean, I almost need my wife to be able to turn on my computer for me. That's all. But what we do in the summer is a bunch of Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout the summer have basically one-day prospect camps that are incredibly valuable for basically any high school age kid to come to. The challenge with college with baseball recruiting is video is relatively useless compared to a football, a basketball. When that film, it's so hard for us to evaluate. And obviously trying to see kids all over the country. I mean, you go to a travel ball tournament, they don't take batting practice, they don't do anything. Then he gets in the game at third base, nobody hits him a ground ball. He walks on 4 pitches twice, and you sit there for 2 hours and watch a kid do literally nothing but jog in and out of the dugout. So these prospect camps give us such a good opportunity to see a kid hit on our field, see how the ball carries, get the metrics on TrackMan, do all these different things. And so there's a website out there. The kids know how to Google it. Cincinnati Bearcat baseball camps. Half of our incoming kids next year came to one of ours over the course of the summer, early fall. So it's big for us. We do have one youth camp that, again, I cannot reference the dates, the website, anything like that. My marketing skills are tremendous. But they're out there. I can promise.
Probably on Twitter or something too, you know.
Can I give you my favorite scouting story ever?
Yeah, fire away.
Have you met Hep Cronin?
Yeah, not.
Okay, so do you know who Hep is?
I know the last name, but I'm going to say I don't. And I'm probably embarrassing myself in Cincinnati on 513 day, but I'll wear it.
So Hep is Mick's dad. He was a longtime high school coach. He's in the Cincinnati Basketball Hall of Fame as a high school coach. His second career was a scout for the Atlanta Braves. The number one guy he signed at or scouted for the Atlanta Braves is a guy named Chipper Jones. That one turned out pretty well.
Yeah.
The other main big name he signed was a guy named David Justice.
Yeah, he did all right. Got famous for Moneyball. Nothing else he did. He had like 400 home runs, and all anybody knows is the Moneyball quote of "you." They paid us to take you.
Yep. So Hep shows up with John Sherholtz to see David Justice play, and they're playing a doubleheader, and Hep just happens to know the umpire. So he's sitting there for a scout to get the GM to come with you is
that's a once a decade type of thing.
So he gets in the first 2 pitches. The other team obviously knows, and they're way out of the strike zone. And Hep looks over at the manager and he's like, call time. So the guy calls time and Hep calls the umpire over and he goes, everything's a strike. So the umpire goes back. Hep's like, look, man, I got everything's a strike. So he goes back over, and the next pitch is a foot out of the strike zone, and the ump goes, strike one. And Justice looks at him, and the guy's like, you know the deal, like, swing the bat. So I guess he said Jones hit 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and like 2 singles in a doubleheader. And John Schuerholz left, ready to sign David Justice. So sometimes
scouts haven't changed. They're still trying to dictate everything, because we had one reach out today. I'm not even going to mention the team, but it would really help me if Josh Cross caught tomorrow. Oh, okay. I'm going to make my lineup based on what the all right. Good to know. Who would you like us to pitch?
It would really help me if you Venmo'd me $1 million, but you're not going to do that.
Exactly.
So
tell me your NIL donation bucket.
I didn't mention to him, last Thursday when there were like 4 college baseball games in the entire country, Josh Cross was catching. You could have come to that one.
Yeah, just text him back, cincyrains.com. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, enough NIL. How much you want to pay this kid to catch? So
There you go.
Oh my
It would
god!
really help me if Josh. Well, he's such a convincing argument.
yeah, maybe he wants to see how he does against one of our pitchers. So maybe we can have him play for UConn just to see how it goes too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a smart idea.
Yeah, get double the
You should've
at-bats
said-
that way.
You should have said the job was open. You could have applied.
Most of these guys are pretty good guys. They got tough lives, but it is funny when we get those things once in a while.
Well, Coach, 6 a.m. comes very early. We do appreciate your time. We wish you the best of luck this week in these last 4 games, because it's gonna be some long days ahead of you.
Yeah, no, we're excited for it. It's ultimately we've accomplished a lot this year. We really got to view this like we're playing on some house money. We've put the wheels in motion to get this program going, and I expect we're going to play well, but there's really no reason to play with pressure. I know we're going to have some exciting fan groups out there. It's some of the best baseball in the country this weekend, and that part's really exciting. It easily could have been a year where in mid-May you were just trying to find your way into the tournament and things like that. So it's a credit to our guys that like you said, we're a little ahead in the process, and we're going to enjoy it. And what you guys are doing, I said this last week, but it really means a lot. There's a lot going on in this city, and we got to shine light on some of these good things that our department's doing, and you guys are helping do that. So I can't thank you enough.
Awesome.
Well,
Thanks,
so
Coach.
if you sweep again, we'll see you next week, right?
Yeah. No matter. Yep. If we're up in the 9th of game 3 about to sweep, we might as well just do a live one from the dugout, right?
Baseball's a superstitious sport, so I want to make sure we continue the trends. So
I'm glad I didn't promise the big hat if we make an NCAA tournament.
Ooh,
I could have got real quick. We still need
feel
to
some grounders though. Come on now.
Yeah.
all right, good luck, Coach. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks guys.
Thanks,
Take
Coach.
care.
See ya.
Yep. Bye-bye.
I'm hoping to be out there Thursday.